Hi, my name is Christina and I am your librarian here at Christina's Bookshelf, and today I am bringing you Tamian by Faith Gibson. This is book number 11 in the Stone Society series, and I'm so excited to talk to you about this. 1, gargoyle shifters, and 2, we meet a new breed of shifters that are going to be like a spin-off from the Stone Society. Tamian St. We have followed him from the very beginning. If you've never read a Stone Society series book before, yes, you can read any of them as a standalone if you want, but behind the scenes, there's always a story going. So if you start from the beginning, you're going to be able to follow it a lot easier than starting at book number 11. But if you see this review and you're like, hot damn, I want to start there, you may. Let me set the scene here for those of you who have never read one of the Stone Society series. These books take place kind of in the future, but there was kind of like an apocalyptic event that put everybody behind in the makings. So it takes place in the future, but we're kind of in the now with technology. There's not like flying cars or anything like extravagantly futuristic. The reason this apocalyptic event took place is because somebody decided that they were going to clone a human. Tamian St. is that clone, but he's no ordinary human. He was cloned after his sister, who is half human, half gargoyle, but the wonderful person that cloned him might have added a little bit extra. And when the radicals of the world found out about this, war was on. Tamian has spent his life never feeling like he fully belonged anywhere. Always just kind of like in existence, but not existing. He spent a good chunk of his life following his sister. She was what was called a watcher. She went around and watched the other half-breeds and watched them kind of as they became who they were supposed to be when they found their mates. Once she found her mates and kind of the floodgates opened and everybody started realizing that you can mate with humans and the ball was kind of dropped and she could live her life, Tamian kind of went off and did his own thing. Like, what was he supposed to do now? This is what he's always done. Protected Tessa, his sister. Gregor, book number 2, that's her story. So she's in book number 2, and then we have Tamian's story all the way in 11. Here he is. Well, in one of the previous books, Eurizia, there was this lady that was kind of hanging out in this town that's known for being a shifter town. And they didn't detect her being a shifter. They thought she was a spy. What was she spying on? Who was she spying on? What information could she possibly need? So Tamian decided that he was going to come figure it out after seeing her picture and getting this funny feeling in his guts. She eluded him, and that's not easy to do to a gargoyle, especially Tamian. So we start this wonderful game of cat and mouse, and it's perfect. It's fan-freaking-tastic. Tamian decides to go home to see his mother and father. His father is king of the Italian gargoyles and is deciding that he would like to step down, and he decides that Tamian would be a great king. So now Tamian has this possibility of being king on his shoulders, the possibility of maybe having a mate who's maybe a spy. Who is she maybe working for? What is she looking for? What information does she already have? Where the hell is she? Well, we find out that Miss Lucy Ball, I love it so much, is a government agent, and not by choice. And soon after they kind of have a connection but not formally meeting, she is whisked away to the secret compound where she has to do unethical, immoral, just ghastly, horrifying things so that the United States can make super soldiers. And we're thinking by we, me, many of the characters in the book, that this is not something that is sanctioned. This is something that somebody with a God complex wants to do. Something she realizes that somebody near and dear to her was working on before her, which changes how she looks at everything. So Tamian is trying to figure out how to break her free while she has her other family, her grandparents, cousins, uncles, trying to break her free. Tamian wants to work with them, but of course they're skeptical. They have heard of gargoyle shifters, but the gargoyles have never heard of griffin shifters. And that's where this gets seriously interesting. I was beyond excited to know that we're bringing on a new shifter breed here. So there's so much at stake in this book. You have the American king and queen going off to meet Lucy's family. You have Tamian and his sister Tessa over here coming up with wicked and wild ideas of how we're going to break her free, what we are going to do. And then when she is free, things do not go as anybody wishes them to go. And we have a whole other disaster on our hands. So poor Tamian is dealing with, father wants him to be king. He's finally figuring out who he is. He knows who his maid is, but she's a government agent, once again, not by her choice. And she's locked away in this secret underground facility that he does not know where it is for the absolute longest time. How is he going to get to her? How is he going to get her free from all this crazy ass security? How is she supposed to deal with this government agent here telling her that she has to run all these crazy experiments to create this amazing super soldier? Talk about the stress. But there's so much humor and love and commitment, devotion, and just heartbreak, sorrow, sadness, great amount of banter throughout this story. Like, that's one of my favorite things, is if you can get characters to have this enormous, just fantastic communication back and forth, I'm in love. And then the sexy times. Faith Gibson does not ever disappoint with the sexy times. Once these two like finally get together and are face to face and are like, hey, how you doing? They're doing just fine. I am giving Tamian by Faith Gibson 4.5 stars. The reason for the downgrade is because I felt there were a couple things that were a little on the redundant side. Just a couple things that Tamian kept on repeating throughout the story I thought was said a couple too many times. It could have been either reworded or just taken out, because after a certain point I was like, we knew. Other than that, the story was absolutely phenomenal. I have been waiting for Tamian's story, and I knew he was gonna find somebody that was just on par with him, just as sneaky as him, somebody that's going to keep him on his toes constantly, just as devious, if not more, than his sister. Oh, and she is it. I love her so much. What I am going to do for you is I am going to leave the Amazon link down below so you can click it and be on your way. Like I said, you can read this as a standalone if you want. If you're like, oh my gosh, gargoyle shifters, all the sexiness, buff male alpha men and their women. And like I said, Tessa is such a strong effing female. Raphael, who's book number 1, and he's the king of the American gargoyles. His mate was the chief of the police, so she's a badass chick. I mean, oh my gosh. If you decide you want to read this and you start from number 1, do it. They're so fucking good. If you've enjoyed this review, I'm going to ask that you help with that YouTube algorithm and give me a like. Leave me a comment. I love to interact with all of you guys, and go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'm recovering from a couple things in my personal life, and I honestly don't know when new content will come out, but that is the magic of the subscribe button, is that you will get a notification when I have something new for you. If you're like me and think this chick's pretty awesome, down below I'm going to leave stalker links aplenty. Go, click, investigate, enjoy. If you have a book or an arc you'd like me to read, or some light editing proofreading you would like done, you may request via website. Tamian by Faith Gibson, the Stone Society series, book number 11, 4.5 stars. Bye. Hi, my name is Christina. I'm your librarian here at Christina's Bookshelf, and today I am bringing you Sin, S-I-N, book number 8 in the Stone Society series by Faith Gibson. This series is about gargoyle shifters that are sexy as, and they're just discovering that they can mate with humans. They've been around for centuries, and all of a sudden, like, bam! Here comes everybody's mates. If you're like me and you read all over the spectrum, MF, MM, whatever, and you tell me you haven't read this